Bonjour. I hope you're all well and making progress on the clues I gave you so far. Let me see, what should we talk about today?
It is as children that we start having our first role models, normally our parents. I often think back to that time and how we didn't have much, but they always push me to take in art and culture, not in museums or expensive galleries, but out in Paris. Art is on the streets. All you need is intrigue to comprehend it.
I loved when we would visit the city. My mother, always connecting me with nature, brought me to a new garden in Paris when I was 9 to 10 years old, I think. I learned that prior to visiting this area, there used to be a guinguette from which originated the name of the garden. A place where people could dance, sing, and drink. Years before, that location used to be meeting place for left-wing pacifists to discuss and protest. When it became a calm place as it is today, my mother took comfort in it. I guess we can see where my parents would stand in regard to the war. Unfortunately, within the year it was officially opened. La Grande Guerre avait commencé. But let's hold on to that moment before the chaos. As I was saying, I used to go there. And believe it or not, there was a kid I used to see every time. I'm sure you'll see him too. He's still there, from day to night, rain or shine. I'm sure you will find that boy, accompanied by two women holding him close. You should figure out where the garden is. Find the boy, ask his name. I mean, he's not a man of many words. Mais ça, vous allez comprendre très rapidement. You definitely need his name to solve this riddle.
There are three consonants in a row, and it's a third one that will be useful for today's world. Enough of gardens and art negotiating.
Well, you remember when my dad used to work at a brewery? That situation changed when my parents came to Paris. Around that time, mon papa was a poinçonneur. Poinçonneur des lilas.
He'd be the person to punch a hole in your ticket when you'd get on the metro. A profession that nowadays is performed by our favorite colleagues, les ordinateurs. At that time, you would not just tap your metro card. You would have to stop and give your ticket to those so-called poinçonneurs to gain access to the Parisian underground world. He had a habit of picking up used tickets and drawing on them in between shifts. To work not too far from home, he has to be stationed nearby. He worked at 4 stops basically every day. 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. He had his own little routine. I did not often join my dad during work, but he would bring his work home in the form of old drawn-on tickets for me. He let me keep them, his own little art pieces. But you know what's curious? If you take a map and trace the location from the first to the second shift, and from the third to the fourth, you might end up with a letter. You'll guess it right, mes amis.
That would be the second letter you will need for today's word.
Of course, I brought you a few of the old tickets. You can see them here, 2 of each stop. I also sent them to Sorkai to put on his page if you'd like a better look. Exciting stuff!
Bon, venons-en à notre dernier point de la journée. I keep telling you about the past. Maybe I should make this one about the present. Allez, on y va. Yet another curious little story. It happened to me just yesterday.
There I was, walking around the City of Light when I stumbled upon a poster for this art exhibition about one of my absolute favorite teams. I would tell you its name or the museum it was in, but that would take all the fun away, n'est-ce pas? En vrai, I was not supposed to be allowed in, as I was alone and this was a guided bid for groups and families. But you know how it is. An old art lover like myself has his connection here and there. And in fact, I had also worked here for a brief time in my life. Mais bon, that is another story for another day. What matters in the end is that I got to see this exhibition, and it was simply fascinating.
I don't understand how in today's time you guys have so many opportunities to go out there and devour all this culture and information, but opt to stay at home and let other people doing it for you. Just don't get it.
Don't you want to gaze down the majestic Hall d'Orsay? Breathe air in le Jardin Rodin? Sentir le papier fraîchement imprimé? En vous laissant guider à travers les énigmes et les histoires de l'imprimerie nationale? Why wouldn't you take this opportunity?
Ah, ça m'énerve. Ouf. J'étais où? Ah oui. Yesterday's tale. You know what? Never mind. Let's make it simple. Call me a crazy old man if you like. But you know, the young boy you met him today, first clue, was there in the same exhibition. You have the date, so it should be easy to track down where I have been. No? I mean, it's up to you anyway. Go out and ask. Search. J'en ai assez pour aujourd'hui. Allez, au revoir.